I woke up after a long, chaotic night. The room was still dark, but something inside me had completely shifted. I reached for my phone and turned off Do Not Disturb. Within seconds, notifications started pouring in like a crashing wave. Texts, comments, emails, from people I knew, and people I'd never even met. Everyone knew. There was nothing left for me to explain. The live stream from last night had gone everywhere. Just 52 seconds, no effects, no music. Just a hotel room. A red dress being pulled down. A panicked man buttoning up his shirt after opening the door. And my wife, frozen in place, her face drained of color when she saw me. I didn't have to say much. I just turned my phone to capture everything. Then I said one sentence, just one, but it was enough for anyone who's ever been betrayed to feel like justice had finally been served. She used to tell me she wanted to focus on building her career, and I believed her. I believed her so much that I gave up a steady job, switched to working part-time from home so she could chase her goals without distractions. For 5 years, I cooked, did laundry, changed diapers, did school runs, and read bedtime stories every night. I did all of it, not because I had to, but because that's what you do when you love someone fully. But apparently, working late actually meant regular meetups at the same hotel. Those emergency meetings were just excuses to sneak away with her affair partner. And that bright family future we kept talking about? Just a front to hide a betrayal that had been happening right under my nose. I don't regret the live stream. I wasn't trying to get revenge. I just wanted the truth to be seen. Uncut, unedited, undeniable. Because sometimes, the loudest silence is when you let the whole world see what someone tried so hard to keep hidden in the dark. Betrayal doesn't have to be loud. It just needs the right moment and the right person to end it. If you've ever been through a love story that didn't end the way you hoped, stick around till the end. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss more real stories like this one. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 35 years old. My wife, Vanessa, is a year older than me. We've been married for 6 years and have a 5-year-old daughter named Lily. She's got her mom's smile, but her eyes, those are all me. Before everything changed, we lived in Columbus, Ohio. I worked full-time as a content designer for a media agency, and Vanessa worked at a local bank. Life wasn't flashy, but it was solid. We weren't rich, but everything made sense. We worked, we raised our kid, we shared the load. Honestly, I thought I'd live in that city for the rest of my life. Then an opportunity came up for Vanessa. She got offered a promotion to regional operations manager, basically overseeing multiple branches. But the job was in Austin, Texas. The pay was almost double, came with housing assistance, and had great benefits for families. Vanessa was excited. She told me it was the kind of step up she'd been working toward her entire career. We talked it through, a lot. I didn't want to be the reason she turned it down. So, in the end, I said yes. We packed up everything, sold our first home, and left the place we used to call home. I told myself I was doing it for our family, for the person I believed would always walk this road with me. Moving to Austin meant rebuilding our routine from scratch. We didn't have any family nearby to help with Lily, who was just 3 at the time. Vanessa's new role had her constantly traveling between branches, staying late, and almost never getting off work on time. We talked about hiring a full-time nanny, but after many late-night conversations, I made the call. I'd switch to freelancing from home. Part of it was for Lily, so at least one of us could always be there. Part of it was just me thinking, if someone had to step back to keep things grounded, I could be that person. I didn't quit completely. I still took on small projects, writing content for business blogs, designing landing pages for local startups, picking up gigs from friends or former clients. It wasn't much money, but it made me feel like I was still contributing, like I still mattered in this family. It wasn't an easy decision. I used to be the higher earner. I used to have an office with a door, back-to-back meetings, and a reason to put on a button-down shirt every morning. Letting go of all that wasn't simple, but when it's for your family, you'd be surprised just how far you're willing to go. At first, I thought it was just work stress. New position, new responsibilities, a whole new city. No one adjusts to that overnight. but that constant busy rhythm just never let up. Vanessa was always working late. Weekend meetings started popping up out of nowhere, and most nights she didn't get home until after Lily was already asleep. I tried not to think the worst. I knew her job could be demanding, but slowly the atmosphere at home started to shift. She grew distant. She stopped asking what I was working on, didn't care if I had a new project. When I told her Lily had picked up a new word, or that a client had sent really good feedback, she'd just nod absent-mindedly. It started to feel like I was living with a stranger. There was one thing that really stood out. She never left her phone behind anymore. Even when she took a shower. That wasn't like her. We used to leave our phones lying around the house, half the time not even locking them. But now, it was different. One time, I accidentally picked up her phone while it was charging, and she snatched it back, calmly, but fast. Her eyes said more than her words ever could. There was something she didn't want me to see. Still, I didn't let my mind go to the worst-case scenario, until that night. We were sitting in the living room. Vanessa was scrolling through her phone, trying to find a picture of Lily to send to her mom. She held her phone out to show me an old family photo from a trip to the park. I nodded, smiled politely. But then my eyes caught the image thumbnails at the bottom of the screen. Mixed in with family photos and work shots, there was one that stood out. Blue and purple club lights, a crowded room, and a tight red dress. It was clearly taken at some nightclub. I didn't say anything. I just got up and said I'd go make some popcorn for the movie. She offered to do it instead and headed to the kitchen. As soon as the door closed behind her, I picked up her phone. My hands were slightly shaking, but my heartbeat was strangely steady. I opened her photo gallery, scrolled to the day the club photo was taken, and there it was. Her, at the club, with a man I'd never seen before. He had his arms wrapped around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder, and she was leaning her head toward his, laughing. That laugh. It was the same one I hadn't seen in her eyes for a long, long time. She was wearing a short red dress, nude heels, her lips done up, a cocktail in hand. There was nothing emergency meeting about any of it. I took a screenshot, sent it to myself, then deleted the message I'd just sent. The whole thing took less than a minute. When she came back with a bowl of hot popcorn, I was right where she left me. I didn't say a word. We kept watching the movie, as if nothing had happened, but in my head, something had changed forever. After I sent that photo to myself and erased all traces of it, I started paying more attention. I didn't confront her. I didn't act differently. I still treated her the same way I always had, made her coffee in the morning, folded the laundry when she got home late, read bedtime stories with Lily like nothing had changed. But in my mind, all the scattered suspicions were beginning to link up. A few days later, I noticed she had deleted all the old photos from her phone. The gallery was unusually empty. Maybe she realized I had seen something. Maybe she thought I wouldn't be sharp enough to catch it. But I knew. People only erase things when they have something to hide. From that moment on, I started remembering everything that felt off. One night, she said she had to entertain a major client, someone important in her field. She didn't get home until nearly 11 p.m. When I opened the door for her, I noticed something immediately. She was wearing a different pair of shoes than the ones she left the house in. Same color, but not the same style I saw that morning. When I asked if she wanted a drink of water, she just shook her head and went straight to shower. Another evening, she kissed me on the forehead as she walked in, something she'd always done, but I caught the sharp smell of alcohol on her breath, mixed with an intense minty scent. She never drank that much on work nights, especially not when she had to drive home. I'm not a detective. I'm just a husband who knows how to notice things. I didn't need anyone to spell it out for me. I just needed to gather enough truth. And then, I'd do what needed to be done. I didn't confront her, not because I was afraid of the truth, but because I was afraid of how she'd deny it. I've been gaslight before. I know how it feels when the truth is right in front of you, but the other person twists it just enough to make you question your own mind. They don't even have to shout. All it takes is calmly asking you 3 times, "Are you sure?" and suddenly everything inside you starts to shake. I didn't want to go through that again. So I stayed silent. Quietly started tracking things. Marked down every time she said she'd be home late. Every night, Lily asked, "Where's Mommy?" while I was scrubbing dishes and trying not to sigh too loud. I logged the times she left the house, took pictures of her shoes by the door, noted which days she said she had meetings, but came home smelling like wine around the collar. I started cross-checking those dates with the emails she accidentally left open, or the quick glimpses of her calendar on her screen when she forgot to close it. I wasn't trying to trap her. I was trying to look straight at something I didn't want to believe. I didn't want Vanessa to be the bad guy. I didn't want to accept that the woman I once loved so much I uprooted my entire life to move across state lines had been lying to me night after night. But if it was true, I needed to know, not based on gut feeling, based on proof. Because once I took action, there would be no going back. That night, she slept deeper than usual. Her body limp, a faint trace of alcohol in the air, her breathing slow and even from the bedroom. Her phone was next to the pillow, no fingerprint lock. I hesitated. A part of me still wanted to stop. But then I thought of every night she said she was working late. Every dismissive nod. Every lie dressed up as routine. I had to be sure. I opened her email. In the sent folder, there was a string of messages from someone named Marcus L. The subject lines looked professional. Things like Q3 scheduling and quick summary before meeting. But when I opened them, the content told a completely different story. No spreadsheets, no reports, just messages planning their next meetup. Is Sunday good? Same place as last time? I've missed you all week. One photo was taken inside a hotel room. Warm yellow bedside lamp, an unopened bottle of wine, and that same red dress tossed casually over the back of a chair. It felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. I didn't say a word. Didn't smash anything. Didn't wake her up to demand answers. I just quietly forwarded the entire thread to my personal email, downloaded every attachment, then went back and wiped the sent folder and trash bin clean. No trace left behind. The next morning, I got up earlier than usual, made coffee, got Lily dressed, set the table. Vanessa walked out with damp hair and asked if I'd seen her white blouse. I told her, maybe it's still in the wash. 3 days later, I had my first meeting with a divorce attorney. I remember that evening so clearly. It was quiet. No email pings from her laptop. No work texts interrupting dinner. Lily had gone to bed early after a long, busy day at preschool. The whole house was wrapped in silence, the kind of silence that should have felt peaceful. But that night, it just felt hollow. We sat down for dinner together, a rare thing these past few months. I took a deep breath, set my fork and knife down, and told her I'd been thinking about going back to school. A part-time master's program, digital content strategy, the field I used to be great at before I switched to freelancing. I told her I wasn't planning to start right away, but once Lily started first grade, it would be the right time to prepare for a new chapter. Vanessa looked up, put her fork down, and leaned back in her chair. She didn't look at me like a partner hearing about a plan. She looked at me like a manager listening to an employee ask for time off during peak season. She said, "You agreed to stay home. You promised I could focus on my career while you kept everything stable." I nodded. And I've done that. I've taken care of Lily, managed the house, cooked meals. I've never backed away from any of it. But I can't stay still forever. You're not the only one carrying things. She laughed, quietly, but it wasn't a kind laugh. Carrying? Her voice started to rise. You think I'm just carrying the money? I'm carrying this whole system. I'm the reason this family isn't falling apart. And now you want to go back to school? Perfect timing. I'm not asking for permission. I'm sharing this with you, because I'm still a person who gets to make decisions, I said, trying to keep my voice level, even as my throat dried up. She looked at me like I'd said the dumbest thing imaginable. This isn't the time for you to go on some self-discovery journey. I'm tired, Ethan. You chose to stay home, and now you want to change the rules just when I'm relying on the stability you promised? Can't you see you're throwing everything off? The air felt thick. I looked at the woman across from me. The same woman I once loved enough to sacrifice my entire career for. But in her eyes, I wasn't a partner anymore. I was a liability. A malfunctioning support system she didn't know how to fix. I didn't say anything else. Just quietly got up, cleared the dishes, and grabbed a blanket from the living room. I laid down on the couch, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling in the dark. And I knew, tonight, I didn't need any more proof. Because sometimes, cheating isn't the real end. Sometimes, it's the way two people stop seeing each other the way they used to. The way they stop standing on the same side. With or without the emails. With or without the photos. With or without the hotel footage. The truth was, we didn't exist anymore. A few weeks before that night, I had quietly scheduled a meeting with a divorce attorney. I didn't come in with accusations, just my laptop, the forwarded emails, and screenshots from Vanessa's phone. I sat across from a woman in her 40s, hair tied back, voice calm but firm. She made me feel like I was preparing for surgery, not war. She went through every piece of evidence I brought. Emails from Marcus, the club photos, vague messages, timelines that didn't line up with what Vanessa had told me. Then she looked up and said something I hadn't expected. "This is all very strong, but if you want to make a clean break, gain primary custody, push for a fair division of assets, you'll need something undeniable, something direct, a photo or video that proves physical intimacy outside the marriage. The more specific, the better." I remember going still for a few seconds, part shocked, part chilled by how clinical it sounded, how love and betrayal could be translated into cold, legal terminology. She continued, "You don't need to catch them in bed, but if you can capture them entering a hotel together, or in a clearly intimate situation, the court won't side with the one who broke the vows." I nodded, quietly packed the documents back into my bag. That day, I sat in my car for a long time after leaving her office. No engine running, no calls, just staring ahead, telling myself, I'm not doing this out of anger. I'm doing it for justice, for my child, for the future. I started preparing, got a camera, a fresh memory card, started planning. And then, one evening, Vanessa sent a text I'd seen before. "Hey babe, I have to work late. Something came up with the reporting team." That was the moment I hit record. I replied, "All good. Lily and I will eat without you." Added a smiley face emoji, like everything was normal, but I wasn't at home. Lily had been dropped off at her cousin's for a sleepover that afternoon, and I was sitting in my car, parked just half a block from the bank where Vanessa worked, camera ready on the passenger seat. My phone set to timestamp recordings. At exactly 6:02 p.m., I saw her car pull out of the lot, right alongside the rest of the admin staff heading home. No sign of any emergency meeting. I snapped a photo. License plate, timestamp, surroundings. Everything documented. I turned on the dash cam and followed her at a safe distance. Evening traffic in Austin wasn't heavy, just enough to help me blend in. We crossed a few familiar streets, then turned into an older part of town, slightly run down but discreet. She pulled into a mid-range hotel, nothing flashy, just clean and private. The hotel name felt familiar. Then it hit me. It was the same one that had popped up a few times in her emails with Marcus. The usual spot, as they called it. I parked across the street and watched her step inside the lobby. Once she disappeared through the doors, I grabbed the folder I'd prepared and walked toward the entrance. Inside the folder, the signed divorce papers, a full dossier of evidence, and printed copies of the email exchanges between her and her affair partner. I wasn't there to confront her. I wasn't there to ask why. I was there to end it. I entered the hotel through the side entrance, the one Vanessa and Marcus had mentioned in those emails disguised with workspeak. The usual spot. I didn't need to know the room number. I just waited in the lobby for about 10 minutes, then followed her as she took the stairs. She never looked back, had no idea someone was a few steps behind her, far enough to stay unnoticed, close enough to see everything. At the top of the stairs, I stopped at the second-floor hallway. Room 214 was at the far end. I watched as she pulled out her keycard. The door clicked open. I stayed tucked into a corner just around the bend, heart steady. Not racing, not anxious. Just the rhythm of someone who already knew what was coming and had been ready for it for a long time. I waited a full minute. Then I walked up and knocked twice on the door. I didn't flinch, didn't hesitate, just felt a strange kind of clarity. Left hand holding my phone, already set to record. Right hand gripping the slim document folder. Everything I needed to end a marriage. A man's voice came from inside. "Room service?" I said nothing. Stepped slightly to the left, out of the peephole's line of sight. A few seconds later, the door swung open. There he was, Marcus. Taller than I expected. White shirt, half buttoned. He glanced left, then right, until he saw me. "Who are you? What do you want?" he asked, guarded but not loud. His arm came up halfway, blocking the doorway. I looked him dead in the eye, calm, cold. "I'm the husband of the woman undressing in that room." Before he could say a word, I pushed the door open with my shoulder, didn't even need much force. He instinctively stepped back, face draining of color. Vanessa was across the room, back turned, unhooking her earrings, sliding the red dress down halfway, getting ready for another late night at work. The moment she saw me, she froze. No words, no screams. Just that second of stillness, like time had stopped. She yanked the dress back up, scrambled for the blanket on the bed to cover herself. I stood in the center of the room, unlocked my phone, opened Instagram, and hit Go Live. I panned the camera slowly, across the messy bed, the warm yellow bedside light, lingerie draped over the chair, and the two of them standing there like statues. I pointed the lens at both of them. My voice was flat and cold as steel. "This is Marcus, and this is my wife, Vanessa. This is where they meet every week, during the hours she tells me she's in urgent meetings at the bank. Every, 'Hey babe, I'm working late.' Text meant a night right here, with him." I stopped the stream, put my phone away. Then, from my bag, I pulled out the folder. Inside, signed divorce papers, copies of the emails, photo evidence. I laid it on the table. Didn't look at her. Didn't ask for an explanation. Everything I needed to know, I already knew. Everything I needed to do, I had just done. I said one thing. "This is for all those late nights." Then I turned around and walked out. No one stopped me. No one called after me. No one cried. And they didn't need to. Because sometimes, the clearest ending doesn't come from screaming matches or slammed doors, but from the sound of someone leaving quietly while the other person still stands there, in a dress half on and a shock that hasn't even fully landed yet. I didn't go home that night. I drove around Austin. No destination, no music, not even a clear plan. I just knew I couldn't go back to the house she still called our home. I texted my younger brother and told him I needed Lily to stay with him for one more night. No explanation. We'd been through enough in life that some things didn't need words. Eventually, I parked in an empty lot and sat in the dark silence of the car, rewatching the video I had taken just an hour earlier. I had gone live when I walked into that hotel room, a decision I hadn't planned at first. But the moment I stood there, in that room, seeing what I saw, I realized the truth only holds weight when it can't be buried again. I downloaded the video to an external drive and backed it up in 3 different places, just in case. I didn't give it a dramatic title, didn't tag anyone, didn't name names. I just let it run. But within hours, it spread like wildfire. I turned off my phone and switched to Do Not Disturb. When I finally got back to the house, the living room lights were still off. I didn't turn them on, just sat on the couch in the dark. About 30 minutes later, she came home. No knock, no hesitation. She unlocked the door with her fingerprint like always, and stepped into the quiet. I heard the soft click of her heels on the wood floor. Then she stopped. She must have seen me sitting there in the shadows. She didn't say anything, didn't offer an explanation. Maybe she knew words were pointless now. I didn't need her confession. I already had everything I needed. The next morning, when I turned my phone back on, things had already gone way beyond what I'd expected. Over 100 unread messages. Old friends, some from college, some former coworkers from Columbus, were sending me screenshots, links, and asking, Is this real? They recognized Vanessa. They said Marcus used to work on a joint project with her team. They said they couldn't believe it. As for me, I didn't reply to anyone. People found the story on their own. Clips were being shared. Someone even made subtitles of everything I said in the video. One comment called me calm as ice. Another wrote, "This is how a man handles betrayal, with grace and precision." I saw my name floating on Reddit threads, under a category called Cheaters Exposed. I never submitted the clip, but someone had posted the entire thing. People were calling it the perfect checkmate. I didn't care about the shares, but I noticed Vanessa did. She locked all her social media accounts by noon. Word was, she took a leave of absence from the bank for personal reasons. One of her coworkers, who had once been a bridesmaid at our wedding, messaged me and said, "There's an emergency ethics meeting at HQ. I just want you to know, I'm standing on the side of the truth." I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt light. I used to imagine we'd have one final conversation. Two adults sitting down to say what needed to be said. But there was no need anymore. Everything had been said, through actions, silence, and what the whole world had already witnessed. When you betray the one who held you up for 5 years, maybe you don't realize how fast the cost will come due. I met with my lawyer again, brought the full file, video backups, email printouts, photo logs, timestamps, everything. He looked at me like someone who'd just walked off a battlefield, not bruised, but definitely no longer the same man. We went over the strategy in a single morning. Custody, asset division, spousal support. I didn't ask for much, just to keep Lily with me and have enough to rebuild a stable life. I moved out the next week, not as someone who was running, but as someone finally free of the chains of deception. I rented a small apartment near Lily's school. Nothing fancy, but bright, quiet, enough to start fresh. Vanessa signed the divorce papers the following week. No arguments, no counteroffers, maybe because she knew there was nothing left to fight for. I didn't celebrate. I just bought an iced black coffee and sat alone in the park. The wind cut through my hair, cold but clean. And that's when it hit me. Freedom doesn't come from being loved. It comes from no longer waiting for someone to love you right. The divorce hearing happened less than 3 months after that night at the hotel. Everything moved quickly and cleanly, because I had everything I needed. My lawyer told me it was one of the cleanest cases she'd handled. Video, photos, emails, calendar cross-references, and a clear record of childcare, from preschool documents to medical appointment logs, all under my name. Vanessa didn't put up much of a fight, maybe because she knew there was nothing left to hold on to, or maybe she was just tired. Whatever the reason, the hearing wrapped up faster than I expected. I was granted 70% custody of Lily. The court took into account the 5 years I'd spent at home raising her, weighed that against Vanessa's full-time, travel-heavy job. Being a busy mom doesn't make you a bad one, but in this case, I was the parent who could offer more stability. I was also granted alimony, monthly financial support, at least for the next few years. I didn't ask for much. I just told my lawyer I needed enough to finish the part-time master's program I had once mentioned. On that final night, we sat across from each other at the dinner table. The same plan she had dismissed as an unnecessary luxury. I've enrolled. Classes start next month. I don't call this starting over. No one really starts from zero. I call it moving forward, with what's left, and with enough clarity not to repeat old mistakes. I didn't win because I beat someone. I got here because I stayed the course, and I was patient enough to see it through to the end. We sold the house. The court ordered a 50-50 split. Fair, by the book. There was nothing left to argue. The place that once felt like the beginning of everything was now just a line item in a property transfer file. I moved into a small apartment near Lily's elementary school. Not big, but warm. Not fancy, but quiet enough for her to sleep well, and for me to study every night. Vanessa still works at the bank, but the whispers about what she did will linger. I don't care if she's still seeing Marcus or not. That's not my concern anymore. As for me, I'm learning again, rebuilding, living again. I'm not angry anymore. I don't feel that sharp heat when I think about what happened. But I haven't forgotten. I don't need to forgive. I just need to make sure I never walk that same road again. Because betrayal, once it happens, doesn't just break your trust. It shatters the picture you held of the other person and of yourself in that marriage. I'm not telling this story to place blame or to claim I won. I'm telling it because someone out there is probably sitting in their car in the middle of the night asking themselves, am I overthinking this? No, you're not. Your gut doesn't lie. Betrayal doesn't always shout. Sometimes all it takes is one perfectly timed silence and a divorce paper sent to the right person. If you think this story deserves to be shared, not for the betrayal, but for how someone calmly followed the truth to the very end, feel free to like the video. Someone out there might need to know they're not crazy.